The Galactic Empire scanned Earth and laughed. Primitive species, they said. No threat at all. But they had no idea what we were hiding. They had no idea what was coming next. The low hum of quantum stabilizers created a subtle vibration that most would never notice, but Elena Rodriguez felt it in her bones. Her fingers traced the worn surface of her great-grandfather's navigation charts, relics from humanity's first tentative steps beyond the solar system. Those charts told a story of persistence, of a species that refused to be contained by the limitations others try to impose. Outside the primary command deck, the asteroid belt seemed nothing more than a random collection of rocky debris. But that was precisely the point. Humanity's most ambitious project was hidden in plain sight, camouflaged by millions of tons of rock and sophisticated quantum absorption camouflage technology that made the UES horizon invisible to every known scanning method in the galaxy. Quantum resonance at 99.7% stability, announced Dr. Marcus Chen, his voice calm but tinged with an excitement he couldn't fully suppress. A quantum physicist whose theories had been laughed out of academic circles a decade ago. Chen was now the primary architect of humanity's greatest secret weapon. Rodriguez remembered the project's origins. It began in the darkest moments after the Proxima conflict, a brutal encounter with the first alien civilization that humanity had contacted. The Vex had been ruthless, viewing humans as nothing more than primitive biological matter to be harvested and processed. That first contact had nearly ended humanity's stellar ambitions before they truly began. Only a desperate gambit by a small group of human engineers and military strategists had prevented total annihilation. They realized that conventional warfare would never protect humanity against technologically superior civilizations. They needed something different, something impossible. The horizon was that impossibility made real. Lieutenant Aisha Okoro monitored the complex sensor arrays, her fingers dancing across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. Each system was a marvel of human ingenuity, quantum-entangled communication networks that could transmit information faster than light, adaptive AI systems that learned and predicted with terrifying accuracy, and a hull composition that could theoretically withstand direct hits from planet-killer weapons. Incoming long-range scan detected, Okoro reported, her voice steady. Zarn Scout configuration. They're early. Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. The Zarn Imperial Reconnaissance Fleet was notorious for their methodical approach. If they were scanning this region of space, something significant was about to happen. Activate secondary quantum dampeners, she commanded. Bring power systems to standby mode, but keep primary shielding at full potential. The ship around them seemed to breathe. Massive internal systems that spanned kilometers adjusted with microscopic precision. Thousands of crew members, each one selected not just for technical expertise, but for psychological resilience and innovative thinking, prepared for potential engagement. Dr. Chen approached Rodriguez, holding a complex holographic display. The metamaterial hull is performing beyond our most optimistic simulations. We're looking at a defensive capability that makes traditional shield technology look like medieval armor. Rodriguez knew the stakes. The horizon represented more than a military asset. It was proof of humanity's potential, a civilization that could transform limitation into opportunity. Every technological breakthrough embedded in the ship's design was a testament to human creativity, to the ability to look at impossible challenges and see solutions where others saw only barriers. Prep the quantum communication arrays, she ordered. If we need to broadcast, I want maximum information transfer with minimum exposure. The asteroid around them continued its endless dance, hiding humanity's most significant technological achievement. The UES horizon waited, a sleeping giant ready to challenge everything the galaxy thought it knew about human capabilities. First contact was imminent, and humanity was finally ready. High Commander Krulax adjusted the bioneural interface of the Zarn Imperial flagship, Imperial Talon. Millions of microscopic tendrils connected directly to his nervous system, providing sensory input that extended far beyond organic limitations. The ship was an extension of his own consciousness, a living weapon that had subjugated over 300 species across the known galaxy. Earth appeared on the primary holographic display, a blue-green marble that looked frustratingly primitive. Preliminary scans showed rudimentary defense systems, a scattered orbital infrastructure, and communication networks that seemed almost quaint by galactic standards. Krulax's mandibles clicked in a dismissive gesture that translated to contempt. Tactical analysis, he commanded, his voice a resonant blend of biological vocalization and quantum-translated communication. Sub-Commander Vexnar approached, neural implants flickering with processed data. Scanning reveals minimal defensive capabilities. Orbital platforms are outdated. Weapon systems appear to be chemical-based projectile and early-stage energy weapons. Recommendation is standard pacification protocol. The pacification protocol was a well-worn strategy. Demonstrate overwhelming force, offer a single opportunity for surrender, then systematically dismantle planetary defenses. It had worked on hundreds of worlds. The Zarn Empire didn't conquer through sustained warfare, but through swift, psychological decimation. Krulax remembered the historical records. Species after species had crumbled before the Imperial Talon. The Krulax resistance on Gamma Quadrant, the quantum miners of the Nexus colonies, the bioorganic civilizations of the Spiral Arm. Each had fallen within hours of first contact. But something felt different about this human system. The data streams seemed too clean. The orbital patterns too deliberate. Every scan returned information that was almost too perfect, too predictable. It was like looking at a carefully constructed stage set, every element positioned with mathematical precision. Initiate preliminary bombardment sequence, Krulax ordered. Target their primary orbital defense platforms. Weapon systems hummed to life. Quantum-linked plasma cannons charged, capable of turning entire continents to molten slag in seconds. The first volley would be a message, a demonstration of the futility of resistance. On the lower decks, junior officers prepared for what they assumed would be a routine planetary subjugation. Holographic displays showed targeting solutions, weapon energy levels, and projected damage estimates. Young Zarn warriors who had trained their entire lives for this moment checked neural interfaces and weapon systems. Vexnar noticed something odd in the scanning matrices. "Commander, there's an anomalous reading in the asteroid belt. Quantum fluctuations that don't match standard mineral composition." Krulax barely acknowledged the report. Anomalies were common. Planetary systems were chaotic by nature. The first plasma weapons discharged, cutting through space with mathematical precision. Superheated energy capable of vaporizing entire cities prepared to impact Earth's orbital defenses. And then, something changed. The space around the incoming weapons seemed to ripple, not deflect, not absorb, but fundamentally alter in a way that defied every known physical law the Zarn understood. "Recalibrate targeting," Krulax demanded, a hint of uncertainty entering his typically confident tone. But it was already too late. The human response would redefine everything the Zarn thought they knew about warfare, about resistance, about the very nature of technological potential. First contact was about to become something entirely unexpected. The moment of emergence was unlike anything recorded in galactic combat history. Space itself seemed to inhale, then exhale. Gravitational readings across multiple sensor arrays went completely haywire. The UES horizon didn't simply appear, it manifested, as if reality was being rewritten around its impossible geometry. Commander David Kim watched the metamaterial hull shimmer through its transformation phase. What looked like solid matter one moment became translucent the next, molecular structures rearranging themselves with quantum-level precision. The ship wasn't just a vessel. It was a living system of unprecedented complexity. "Quantum resonance stabilizing," announced Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the Central Command Bridge. Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. "Metamaterial hull integrity at 100%. Quantum entanglement communication networks are fully synchronized." The Horizon was a technological marvel that defied every known principle of spacecraft engineering. Its hull consisted of an exotic matter-metamaterial hybrid that could absorb energy weapons, disperse kinetic impacts, and literally reshape its molecular structure in milliseconds. Traditional weapon systems would have better luck punching through a quantum singularity. On the Zarn Imperial flagship, Sub-Commander Vexnar's neural interfaces began to overload. The incoming readings made no sense. A single vessel was generating gravitational anomalies that should require the mass of a small moon. Its energy signature fluctuated across multiple dimensional spectra simultaneously. Impossible, Vexnar muttered, neural implants struggling to process the incoming data. The Horizon's external surface looked like liquid metal one moment, crystalline the next. Quantum-locked particles danced across its surface, creating a defensive capability that made traditional shield technology look like medieval armor. Each molecule was a computational node, capable of independent analysis and instantaneous response. Lieutenant Aisha Okoro managed the ship's communication systems, her expertise pushing the boundaries of what was thought possible. Quantum entanglement communication allowed instantaneous data transfer across impossible distances. Unlike traditional communication methods that were limited by light speed, the Horizon could communicate across star systems in less than a heartbeat. Primary defensive systems online, Okoro reported. Adaptive AI combat interfaces are fully synchronized. The ship's artificial intelligence was nothing like traditional computer systems. It was a living neural network that learned and adapted with each millisecond of interaction. Machine learning merged with human intuition, creating a combat intelligence that was utterly unpredictable. Massive internal systems spanning kilometers adjusted with microscopic precision. The gravitic propulsion system bent spacetime itself, allowing maneuvers that would make traditional navigation computers spontaneously combust. The Horizon didn't move through space. It manipulated space around itself. Dr. Marcus Chen, the quantum physicist who had been the primary architect of the ship's most revolutionary systems, watched the emergence with a mixture of scientific excitement and profound understanding. Years of theoretical work, decades of black-budget research, and a collective genius of humanity's brightest minds had converged in this moment. Probability manipulation systems are online, Chen reported. We can literally adjust statistical likelihood of weapon impacts. The implications were staggering. The Horizon could make itself almost impossibly difficult to hit, not through traditional defensive mechanisms, but by fundamentally altering the mathematical probability of weapon trajectories. High Commander Krillax watched in mounting disbelief as the impossible vessel continued to manifest. This was no ordinary ship. This was a fundamental challenge to everything the Zarn believed about technological superiority. Humanity had just changed the rules of galactic warfare. Admiral Elena Rodriguez conducted warfare like a quantum chess master, her strategy a symphony of calculated chaos that redefined the very concept of combat. "Deploy quantum drone swarm," she commanded, her voice calm and precise. The bridge of the UES Horizon hummed with anticipation. Thousands of microscopic drones erupted from the carrier's hull, each no larger than a honeybee, but possessed of computational power that would have powered entire cities a century ago. These were not simple remote-controlled devices, but autonomous units with adaptive AI that could make complex strategic decisions in microseconds. The swarm moved with impossible coordination. Where traditional military doctrine suggested concentrated formations, these drones became a living, breathing network. They twisted through space, creating false sensor readings, jamming communication frequencies, and generating holographic decoys that looked and behaved like fully armed spacecraft. On the Zarn Imperial flagship, tracking systems went haywire. Each time a targeting computer locked onto a potential drone, the target would simultaneously exist in multiple locations, quantum uncertainty made manifest. Sub-Commander Vexnar watched in mounting horror as their most sophisticated weapon systems became useless. Probability manipulation at 87% efficiency, reported Lieutenant Aisha Okoro, Her fingers danced across holographic interfaces that seemed to breathe with living information. The drones weren't just avoiding weapons. They were fundamentally altering the mathematical likelihood of being hit. Dr. Marcus Chen monitored the quantum entanglement communication network. Each drone was simultaneously a sensor, a communication node, and a potential weapon. They shared information instantaneously, adapting their collective strategy faster than any centralized command could possibly respond. Weapon trajectories began to twist impossibly. Zarn missile systems found their carefully calculated paths suddenly and inexplicably altered. A plasma torpedo meant to strike the horizon's port side would suddenly veer wildly, its guidance systems thoroughly compromised. "It's like they're reading our thoughts," muttered Commander Krulax, mandibles clicking in frustration. The human response defied every tactical scenario in the Zarn Imperial military database. The horizon itself became a living weapon. Its metamaterial hull could absorb and redirect energy in ways that violated everything the Zarn understood about physics. When a concentrated energy beam struck the ship, it didn't simply deflect. It transformed the incoming energy, redirecting it in mathematically perfect angles that confused enemy targeting systems. Commander David Kim managed the ship's adaptive combat interface. "Holographic projection sequence initiated," he announced. Multiple phantom ships began to appear around the horizon, each so perfectly rendered that they generated individual energy signatures and movement patterns. The Zarn fleet found themselves fighting ghosts. Every time they adjusted their strategy, the human response was already 3 steps ahead. It wasn't just technological superiority. It was a fundamental reimagining of warfare itself. Psychological warfare merged with technological innovation. The drone swarms began broadcasting fragments of Zarn military communications, creating a terrifying audio landscape of confusion. Intercepted signals were subtly altered, creating doubt and mistrust within the Imperial fleet's communication networks. "They're not just fighting," Dr. Chen observed quietly. "They're dismantling our entire concept of conflict." Each movement of the horizon was a calculated chess move, revealing only what Admiral Rodriguez wanted the enemy to see. The ship didn't just defend. It manipulated, it confused, it transformed the very nature of the battlefield. The Zarn were discovering a fundamental truth about humanity. When faced with a technologically superior opponent, humans don't just adapt. They completely rewrite the rules of engagement. And they were just getting started. Commander Krulax's neural interfaces began to seize, overwhelmed by the impossible data streaming through his consciousness. The UES Horizon wasn't just a ship. It was a living nightmare that defied every principle of warfare the Zarn Empire had perfected over millennia. Communication channels crackled with increasing panic. Zarn fleet officers reported scenarios that seemed to violate the fundamental laws of physics. Ships disappeared not through traditional destruction, but through incomprehensible spatial manipulations that left no trace, no debris, no explanation. Multiple fleet segments reporting complete systems failure, announced Sub-Commander Vexnar, her voice betraying a hint of something the Zarn rarely experienced: fear. On the horizon's bridge, Lieutenant Aisha Okoro managed a complex web of quantum communication arrays. Each intercepted Zarn transmission became a weapon, parsed and analyzed by adaptive AI systems that could extract strategic information faster than biological minds could comprehend. "Psychological stress levels in the Imperial fleet are approaching critical," she reported. "Their communication protocols are breaking down." It wasn't just technological superiority that humans were demonstrating. It was a fundamental understanding of warfare that went beyond physical combat. The horizon was fighting a battle of perception, of psychology, of pure information warfare. Dr. Marcus Chen studied the incoming data streams, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces. "They're experiencing cognitive dissonance," he explained to Admiral Rodriguez. "Our systems are presenting them with scenarios that directly contradict their understanding of reality." The ship's AI had become something more than a simple combat system. It was a living, breathing intelligence that could predict, manipulate, and deconstruct enemy strategies faster than they could be formulated. Each Zarn communication was simultaneously analyzed, redirected, and used to create further confusion. Commander David Kim managed the ship's adaptive camouflage systems. The Horizon could become anything. A massive battleship one moment, a series of scattered debris the next. Quantum entanglement allowed it to exist in multiple potential states simultaneously, making traditional targeting completely impossible. Aboard the Imperial flagship, holographic displays showed impossible scenarios. Weapon systems that should have been devastating found themselves redirected, their energy dispersed or transformed. Targeting computers went haywire, unable to lock onto a target that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "This is beyond technology," Krelax muttered, his neural interfaces struggling to process the incoming information. "This is something else entirely." The human approach to warfare was fundamentally different from anything the Zarn had encountered. Where other species relied on brute force and technological superiority, humans seemed to view conflict as a complex, multidimensional puzzle to be solved, rather than a simple application of force. Psychological warfare reached new heights. The Horizon began broadcasting carefully constructed communication patterns that played directly into the Zarn's deepest fears. Fragments of intercepted communications suggested massive human fleets waiting just beyond sensor range. Holographic projections created phantom ships that seemed to move with impossible coordination. "We're not just fighting their ships," Admiral Rodriguez observed coldly. "We're dismantling their entire conceptual understanding of warfare." Each moment revealed another layer of human innovation. The ship's systems could predict Zarn communication patterns, redirect their own transmissions, and create a fog of war so complete that the Imperial fleet began to doubt its own existence. Sub-Commander Vexnar's neural interfaces began to fail. The incoming data made no sense. Ships that should exist were nowhere to be found. Weapon systems that should be devastating became useless. The humans weren't just fighting. They were rewriting the very rules of engagement. The Zarn were discovering a terrifying truth. Humanity's most powerful weapon wasn't technology. It was the ability to think beyond conventional limitations. The news of the Horizon's capability spread faster than light through the intricate communication networks that connected galactic civilizations. Information became a weapon more devastating than any plasma cannon, more transformative than any quantum weapon. On 1,000 worlds, species that had long suffered under Zarn imperial oppression began to stir. The transmission was more than a battle report. It was a beacon of hope, a signal that resistance was possible. The Galactic Information Exchange, a complex network of communication relays that served as the primary information distribution system across multiple star systems, lit up with unprecedented activity. Encrypted channels, back-channel communications, and open broadcast networks all carried fragments of the human engagement. Dr. Aria Solarin, a xenohistorian stationed on the neutral research station Meridian Prime, watched the incoming data with growing excitement. Her specialized communication arrays picked up nuanced details that most would miss. "This isn't just a military engagement," she muttered to her research assistant. "This is a fundamental challenge to the entire galactic power structure." The transmission contained more than combat data. Embedded within the quantum-encrypted signals were comprehensive information packets that revealed the systemic weaknesses of the Zarn imperial infrastructure. Technical specifications, communication protocols, strategic vulnerabilities, all laid bare with surgical precision. Resistance movements on subjugated worlds began to plan. The Krelnax miners of the Proxima colonies, long oppressed by Zarn resource extraction policies, saw an opportunity. The biomechanical societies of the Spiral Arm Confederacy started to recalibrate their defensive systems. Admiral Rodriguez understood the broader strategy. The Horizon wasn't just a weapon. It was a message, a declaration that the rules of galactic interaction were about to change fundamentally. Lieutenant Aisha Okoro managed the complex communication systems, ensuring that each transmission was a carefully crafted piece of informational warfare. "Quantum encryption at maximum efficiency," she reported. "Information integrity is perfect." The ship's adaptive AI systems began to analyze the broader galactic response. Each communication channel, each subtle reaction became part of a massive, real-time intelligence-gathering operation. The Horizon wasn't just fighting a battle. It was reshaping the entire conceptual understanding of conflict. On the research station Meridian Prime, cinepolitical analysts worked overtime. The human engagement represented something unprecedented in galactic history. It wasn't just technological superiority. It was a complete reimagining of strategic interaction. "They're not just fighting," Dr. Solarin explained to a gathering of interstellar diplomats. "They're demonstrating an entire new approach to conflict resolution." The Zarn Empire's myth of invincibility began to crumble. Each transmission revealed not just military weakness, but a fundamental systemic fragility that had been hidden for generations. The carefully constructed narrative of imperial superiority was being dismantled, transmission by transmission. Commander David Kim monitored the broader strategic implications. The Zarn Imperial High Council convened in their most secure communication chamber, a quantum-shielded nexus that had remained unbreached for millennia. Holographic displays flickered with increasingly desperate reports from the Imperial Talon and surrounding fleet elements. "This is impossible," Grand Strategist Vornak declared, his neural implants pulsing with a mixture of rage and incomprehension. "A single vessel cannot dismantle our entire strategic doctrine." But it was happening. The Council committed resources they had never before deployed in actual combat. Experimental weapon platforms that had existed only in theoretical simulations were now being pressed into service. These were systems designed to crack planetary cores, to unravel entire star systems, now focused on a single human vessel. Quantum-locked missile platforms charged to levels that would typically destabilize entire star systems. Dimensional warfare weapons that could theoretically unravel spatial coherence prepared to discharge. The Zarn were bringing weapons of absolute last resort, systems so devastating that their mere existence was a violation of multiple galactic peace accords. Aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Elena Rodriguez watched the incoming threat with calculated calm. "Incoming dimensional warfare weapons," reported Lieutenant Aisha Okoro. "Magnitude beyond any previously recorded engagement." Dr. Marcus Chen's fingers danced across quantum interface systems. Adaptive shielding preparing quantum resonance countermeasures. "Will redirect their own weapon's energy signature." The ship's AI was already analyzing the incoming threat, calculating potential response vectors that existed simultaneously across multiple potential realities. Where traditional defense systems would attempt to block or absorb, the Horizon would fundamentally alter the weapon's fundamental nature. Commander David Kim managed the ship's strategic response systems. "Initiating comprehensive information warfare protocol," he announced. Even as the most devastating weapons in the Zarn arsenal prepared to discharge, the Horizon was already extracting and broadcasting their most sensitive strategic information. It wasn't just a battle. It was a complete deconstruction of the Zarn imperial military infrastructure. The experimental weapons discharged, a cascade of energy that should have been capable of unraveling molecular structures across entire star systems. But the Horizon's metamaterial hull did something impossible. It didn't just absorb or deflect. It transformed the incoming energy, using quantum entanglement to redirect the weapon's fundamental quantum signature. Vornak watched in mounting horror as their most advanced weapon systems became useless. The human vessel didn't just survive. It seemed to grow stronger with each attack. "We're exposing more than just our military weakness," Dr. Chen observed quietly. "We're revealing the entire systemic corruption of their imperial structure." The Horizon began broadcasting comprehensive data packages, not just military specifications, but detailed records of imperial resource extraction, diplomatic manipulation, and systemic oppression of hundreds of planetary civilizations. Every weapon the Zarn fired became another opportunity for humanity to expose their fundamental weaknesses. Planetary governors across the galaxy watched in real time. The transmission wasn't just a battle. It was a comprehensive dismantling of the Zarn Empire's carefully constructed narrative of superiority. Sub-Commander Vexnar's neural interfaces began to overload. The incoming data made no sense. Their most advanced systems were being turned against them, their most closely guarded secrets laid bare with surgical precision. Admiral Rodriguez understood the broader strategy. "We're not just fighting," she told her command staff. "We're offering a different way of existing, a chance for fundamental transformation." The Zarn Imperial High Council had committed resources typically reserved for protecting their homeworld. But with each moment, they were discovering a terrifying truth. Their most powerful weapons were becoming their greatest vulnerabilities. Humanity had just rewritten the rules of galactic conflict. The final act of the conflict wasn't a battle. It was a revelation. Aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Elena Rodriguez understood that true victory transcended military conquest. As the Zarn Imperial fleet lay broken and exposed, she prepared humanity's most powerful weapon: unfiltered truth. A comprehensive data package began to broadcast across every known communication channel in the galaxy. It wasn't just information. It was a complete deconstruction of the Zarn Empire's millennia-long system of oppression. Detailed records emerged. Centuries of resource extraction from subjugated worlds. Systematic suppression of technological development. Diplomatic manipulations that had kept entire civilizations in perpetual subservience. The broadcast revealed not just military secrets, but the fundamental moral bankruptcy of an imperial system built on systematic oppression. Commander David Kim managed the transmission systems. "Quantum encryption at maximum efficiency," he reported. "Information integrity is perfect. No possibility of manipulation or interference." The data was surgically precise. Financial records showed how the Zarn had maintained control through economic stranglehold. Communication logs revealed diplomatic negotiations that were nothing more than elaborate extortion schemes. Technical specifications exposed how the Empire had deliberately stunted technological growth of conquered civilizations. High Commander Krulax watched in mounting horror. The neural interfaces that had once been his greatest strength now became a conduit of his own civilization's destruction. Every secret, every carefully guarded piece of information was laid bare with surgical precision. "This is more than defeat," Dr. Marcus Chen observed quietly. "This is a fundamental transformation of galactic power dynamics." On 1,000 worlds, subjugated species began to understand the true nature of their oppression. The Krellnax miners of the Proxima colonies saw the documented evidence of generations of resource theft. The biomechanical societies of the Spiral Arm Confederacy discovered the deliberate technological suppression that had kept them from advancing. Lieutenant Aisha Okoro managed the communication arrays. Each transmission was a carefully crafted piece of informational liberation. "Receiving confirmation from multiple planetary communication networks," she reported. "The information is spreading faster than light." The Zarn Imperial High Council found themselves in an unprecedented situation. Their most powerful weapon, control of information, had been completely dismantled. Commander Krulax was forced to do something no Zarn leader had done in millennia: surrender. But it wasn't a traditional surrender. It was a comprehensive admission of systemic failure. "We challenge you to create a better system," Admiral Rodriguez's transmission declared. It wasn't a threat. It was an invitation to fundamental transformation. The Horizon began its final transformation. No longer just a weapon of war, it became a diplomatic vessel. Its quantum communication systems could facilitate dialogue between civilizations that had been forcibly separated for generations. Its adaptive AI could help mediate conflicts, provide technological assistance, create networks of mutual understanding. Planetary governors across the galaxy began to reassess everything. Trade networks recalibrated. Diplomatic channels that had been frozen for centuries began to open. Dr. Aria Solarin, the Sino-historian from Meridian Prime, watched the transmission with a sense of profound hope. "This is more than a military engagement," she explained to her colleagues. "This is a fundamental reimagining of galactic civilization. The UEA's horizon had become something more than a ship. It was a symbol of possibility, a declaration that technological superiority wasn't about destruction, but about creating opportunities for mutual understanding. As the final transmissions completed, humanity had done more than win a battle. They had offered the galaxy a different way of existing. The revolution was just beginning.